What's up?
Salam.
I'm Sam.
I'm Amira.
Welcome to
Girl, What's Wrong? Girl, What's Wrong is all-inclusive and not specific to any gender or non-gendered individual.
Warning.
Warning.
Topics discussed include
Hello, everybody.
And welcome back to episode 3 of our podcast, Girl, What's Wrong? Welcome back.
We want
to apologize again for the late video from last week. Please go check it out. It is still great. It is about our 10 years of friendship. And today, we're going to take a turn. We're giving you guys 2 videos this week. So you're very, very lucky. Yeah. We're going to take a turn and we're going to discuss human development. We're going to discuss our development, your development, and we're going to tie in some psychology.
Yeah,
you know,
of course.
Of course. You can't not when you're talking about human development.
Yes.
We're going to tie in this theory called the Erikson stage theory, which in summary is a theory brought, forth by a psychologist about the way in which we develop and we grow as human beings. And you can also see from this information we provide what stage you're in.
And if you're comfortable, comment down below.
Yeah, and our main question about this whole episode is, do you think that this theory, because it is a theory, don't ever let anyone, even if they have a fancy little name, tell you what you are and what you aren't.
Exactly.
That's what this whole living thing is. We're trying to figure it out. And we're going to see, upon this theory, do you actually relate to it? Do you think that the progress of the stages, like the progression through the stages, is actually really how human beings progress?
Do you think, how accurate is it?
How accurate is it, and how much does it apply to your context and your own reality?
Yeah.
So, we can't be fooled by these psychologists.
You can't. It's just a theory at the end of the day.
It's just a theory. And we know also from our experience with psychologists that they can get wrong.
They can get very wrong.
They can get it very, very wrong.
Yeah, so we're going to test it out. I'll see how I feel. You'll see how you feel about it. Yes. And let's just get into it.
Segment 1.
We're back. Welcome to segment 1. So we're going to just get straight into it. So Erikson's stage theory. Pretty much, in simplified terms, I think I would pin it as, the basis of what he says is pretty much that to get through all of these stages in life, which we're going to be talking about 4. So to get through all of these stages, you first have to face like a crisis. And then this crisis will, I guess, strengthen you or challenge you in a sense. And then it'll, pretty much just evolve you from the one stage to the next.
Yeah, which is crazy.
It's bonkers.
It's bonkers that, although, yes, it's a theory, but come on, you can't deny that as you age, as you progress through, your own development, I feel like every single time I felt like, wow, I just feel older now. There's always a trauma tied to it. 100%. Some sort of psychosocial crisis.
Yeah, literally. And it's crazy because, when you actually think about it like that, you can look at your life and see the changes, and you can actually maybe, group yourself into these stages somewhat, very not specifically, but you could see okay, when I was younger, this happened to me. And I think that's how I got to stage 2 or 3 or whatever.
Yeah.
You can definitely do that. So
for
it's
sure.
Very interesting.
And as you can also not progress through the stages. It doesn't mean just because you get to a point where you understand this, that just because you're 20 or 23 or 25 or 30 doesn't mean that you're more developed.
Yeah.
Like, even if, fine, let's say your brain has like developed, let's say, well, the science says that your brain is fully developed at 25, but like, I've met some people older than 25 or 25 that aren't that smart, don't make smart decisions. And that could be because you didn't have some sort of psychosocial crisis, and you got too comfortable in the state or the stage that you were in, you know, and there wasn't enough push in your life to make you move, you know, or there was a big push and you decided not to go with the flow, because although we progress as humans, we can make the choice to stay at a stage, you know. Yep. So let's get into it. I'm going to be describing the 4 stages of the stage theory, and this is mostly applicable to adolescents. So this is from you being born to you being a young adult. Obviously that is our target market, you know. So let's get into it. So stage 1, according to Erickson's stage theory, is the trust versus mistrust. And that's in your first year of life.
Okay.
So the question that we ask ourselves in the first year of our lives, if you remember, is my world predictable and supportive? Children cry when they're hungry, or, you know, cry when whatever they need someone or something, or cry when they need comfort, or every single other, you know, aspect of like human development in that stage. It's very reliable on somebody else, and you find that when children don't get this type of support, they develop a distrust, and that psychosocial crisis in itself in that stage can then move on to the next stages, and you find that children start having like alienation problems, and they can't rely on, you know, older, like motherly or fatherly authoritative figures, because when in their developmental stages, earliest of developmental stages, they couldn't trust.
That's crazy. And
the people
it's just
they
like
attached to.
It's just the first year of someone's life. Because like a lot of people think it's just a baby, whatever. Yeah, so it's like, parents would be like, oh, I can do this, whatever, the baby's just a baby, can't even speak, can't even understand. But like, they're literally from the get-go, straight out of the womb, they're observing everything.
In the womb too. In the womb apparently too. Language processing starts in the womb.
That's crazy.
In the womb they start developing their vowel sounds and stuff like that.
It's crazy. And like, once we like master that, we can master so much more, I feel like, in the mental and psychological history, because that's like the basis of everything.
And the thing is, I feel like as humans, we don't quite understand the depth to which children suck in information. Because their body is trying to process as much as possible to make them survivable, to make them, is it survivable? To make them able to live. Like, and so it's taking in every single information and trying to process it. And even if the one time you as a mother, or just anyone dealing with a child, and especially if the child has developed an attachment to you, then this, like, one incident where, like, if the child sees the way that you react even to others, like if you're arguing a lot with others in the household, or you're always on the phone shouting and you're always upset, no matter how you treat that child, it picks up on those things. And it's crazy that, like, even in our first year, like, our parents aren't off the hook, you know. We are a combination of reactions, you know. That's pretty crazy.
Literally, I saw like TikTok or something saying we're like a mosaic of everyone that we've ever interacted with. That's exactly who we are.
Yes.
Which is crazy.
That is crazy.
Yeah.
Anyways,
that's stage 1.
So, you're now older than 1 year old. You are 2 or 3 years old, and you've supposedly, hopefully, progressed to stage 2. And this stage is called autonomy versus shame and doubt. It's crazy that shame and doubt actually starts very, very young.
That is, yeah.
You know, and stage 2 is more centered on, can I do things myself or can I rely on others? So stage 1, yes, there's a lot of processing, but there's a lot of processing not necessarily, you know, honed in on relationships, more so the entire world. Can I touch that? Is that going to burn me? Sensory, stuff like that. Things that kids go through. I'm feeling hungry, cries. You know, there's what is the world and can I? Is this predictable or is it? You know? Then stage 2 is more on relying on others. And so, this is very, like, you can see this in the way that children start gaining a little bit of autonomy at 2 or 3. Like start to be a little bit more rebellious.
Tantrums, toddler
tantrums. Yes, you start throwing tantrums. And like you try to see the boundaries of your autonomy.
Test the boundaries.
You try to test the boundaries, and on the other side, it's versus shame and doubt. You know, you get shamed. Don't touch that. Don't do that. You can't do that. Go to bed at this time. Wash. Like, all of that and how your parents actually reinforce or punish you all starts to formulate how you then view this autonomy versus shame and doubt. And if your parents punish you too much or they do too much positive reinforcement without, you know, just balancing it out, you actually can develop a crisis here where, you know, you feel like they either are too hard on you, like you can't do anything right, and then you start becoming a people pleaser and all that other stuff, or you start to just doubt yourself, have a very low self-esteem, or you become too autonomous.
And we're very rebellious.
And they let you.
Kids always like running away, scared straight, that beyond scared straight thing.
So how do you feel about this stage? Do you see yourself in any of these stages as a child? Like, do you think how did your parents impact you in the stage? Do you think? Obviously you can't remember 2 and 3.
Well, for me, I think the way that my parents raised me, from what I can remember, is I remember that I seemed like I really enjoyed it, you know? I feel like I really, I didn't get scolded too much. I don't think it was, I feel like at that age, I felt the balance of their treatments towards me, I guess, was fair, you know? And also, I do think that it could have been maybe pampered. Quite a little bit. When I was younger, I feel like I was quite pampered, you know? Which I feel like can kind of, you know, reveal itself with my slight narcissistic tendencies. But like light, but still there, still very like, but light narcissistic tendencies, like always just expecting things like, oh, I'm not going to pay. Things like that because of that type of thing. Or just, I did get pretty much a lot of the things that I wanted. So I think that also could have tied into like me now just kind of expecting things, and I mean I'm better now.
I hope so.
I'm definitely I've gone through a lot of stages.
That was a while back.
But that's definitely what I recall. But I mean overall I think it was pretty average. I wasn't abused by my parents or any of that rough stuff, you know. So
at a later stage. But we all were somewhat.
I'm pretty sure everyone probably has a trauma with their parents.
Obviously, you can't expect our parents to be perfect.
And like just trauma in general, you could also just link it back to the struggles that you have to go through to get to the next stage. It could be depicted as like a full-blown trauma, or it could just, you know what I mean?
It could just be another
psychosocial
crisis.
is literally inevitable, and it's for character build, so...
So it's like, on which scale are you going to get... Because you're going to get traumatized. You can't live in this world and not be traumatized. It's like, it's just on what scale, and is it enough to build you onto the next stage, or is it too much that you're stagnant in one stage? It's just your choice. Like, how are you going to handle the crises that come upon you?
How your body deals with that.
Yeah, at this stage, I remember being very autonomous.
Yeah, you have shared some stories with me about that.
I was extremely autonomous because I wasn't staying with my parents at this stage. I was really like moving around a lot. And I remember like this is when I started like just being outside a lot at 2 and 3, if you can believe it. Like I remember my mom said she'd have to lock the door so I don't run. But then like we had a half door, so she would lock this because I was 2 and 3, like I'm small. But then I'd like put the chair there and jump over and run out and go play, and that's freaking young.
Yeah.
Like I was so shocked. I was like, but at 2 and 3?
Yeah.
So I started doing that, like running away and stuff like that, because I don't feel like I had like any solid attachment with any adult. And so it was sort of like, I felt extremely like, if I want to do something, I'm doing it. And I still have that mentality. And I needed to change that because, I was running away from the stage onwards. We'll get through the stages, but like, this is when I started running away a lot. And
it's crazy.
It's always
2 and 3.
And I started, and it was just the beginning of me always running. Like, I always ran away through primary school and high school.
Yeah.
And a couple months ago when I had that meltdown, I ran away. So it's something that I feel like, because of the autonomy that I had developed so strongly as a kid, as a 2 or 3-year-old, I still feel to this day that if I don't want to do it, I'm not doing it, and I don't care what anybody says. And if you try to hold me in, I will run, so.
That's crazy how like stuff from our childhood just really just grows. It's like that's just the root, and we're just growing, and that's the basis, the foundation of who we are.
Yes,
it's crazy.
So
yes,
we're moving on now to stage 3. You are about 4, going through to 6. You're about. So that's where we are right now.
Yes,
and the main question here. Firstly, stage 3 is initiative versus guilt. And this is the main question here is, am I good or am I bad? And in this stage, we actually start not only looking at because in the stage before, we may be like, can I rely on things, or can I on myself, or can I rely on others? But this is more like, okay, but am I good? Am I a good person? Or am I a bad person? And we rely heavily here on what our teachers think about us, us getting, which is why it's also like children at this stage, they use a sticker system. You did well, you get a sticker. This is where we start developing our people pleasing tendencies of like wanting to know, am I good or bad, Am I good or bad? And obviously this could build your initiative, or it could build your guilt, or there could be a balance, but you can start getting really guilty around this time if you are constantly reinforced that you're too noisy, too chatty, you should shut up, you should like keep quiet in class, you're not doing your homework, or you're a failure. Why aren't you? This is where you develop that sense of self, of like trying to figure out, am I good?
That's crazy. And I can see how that can stem from stage 2, shame and doubt. Can develop to guilt. It's crazy how all of these things like can relate. And like also around that age, like 4 to 6, I think of like, I've watched a lot of like child psychology documentaries where this is common age where kids get diagnosed ADD, ADHD, because they're being disruptive in class and they're acting up, and you know what I mean? That's like, this is like where like, well, in my opinion, the crux of like, I guess, troubled kid.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. And You know, especially because in the earlier stage, although we wanted to know, can I be autonomous, shame and doubt, although we want to push the boundaries of like, can I touch this hot plate?
Yeah.
Would it be bad? My mom is saying no, but I kind of want to touch the hot plate, you know? So even though that is like some sort of starting to be kind of rebellious, trying to step into your own, you're not aware of self. Like, if you want to touch a hot plate, you're not aware of self. Like, it's gonna hurt you, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And you're just like, but I kind of want to do it, you know? But at this stage, you are aware of self. You know, you do somewhat know, I can't touch that, it's gonna hurt me.
Yeah.
And this is much more of a deeper sort of introspection of, am I truly good or am I just bad? And I do think that, for sure, if I do remember at this stage, like a lot of, I mean, since earlier stages, but like I do remember like going through the actual emotions because I just couldn't stop talking in class. Like my mom would constantly be getting a report saying that I need to keep quiet, I'm distracting other kids, I need to keep quiet, I need to keep quiet, I need to keep quiet. And I just never did, you know. And I remember my mom would like punish me, obviously, because the teacher's complaining, I'm being distracted, and she would, you know, hit me. And the thing is, it's like, is it really what we should be doing when it comes to, because around this time, I had gone through SA, and was I just being disruptive, or was I trying to get attention because I wasn't getting it at home?
That's exactly it, you know.
And I wasn't.
And that's the upsetting thing about it, is that often kids that act out in school, there's a reason. Mm-hmm. That's often the case.
Yeah.
Check what's going on.
Mm-hmm. And so I remember not only feeling like my voice was being taken away from me because I couldn't communicate at home because there were problems at home and I didn't feel like I had space to. But then also at school, I'd come and be told to shut up. And although, I mean, peace and love, people have to learn, you know, you have to shut up in class. But like, I feel like I was kept quiet at this point, and I felt a lot of guilt for sure. Yeah. I feel like instead of initiative, I really developed a deep guilt and felt like my presence was unwanted and my voice was just too loud.
Yeah. And I was also watching like I think a psychological video or something where it was talking about how... completely lost that one. That's so funny. What did you just say? I was watching this psychological documentary where it was talking about, like, obviously when a child does bad, you have to scold them. Mm-hmm. But the way that you do it, and if you're explaining to them, and like the explaining part of it is like very, very, very important. Mm-hmm. So for example, if your child, as I said, you're being disruptive in school. If you're being disruptive in school and your mom, like, whatever, she scolds you in whatever way, if she doesn't then after a while like come and talk to you about it and is like, look, I'm sorry, or doesn't have to say I'm sorry, but look, I did that because of this, it's not because of this. Yeah. And establishes that clarification, it leaves the most amount of room for you to think it's me rather than my actions. Yes.
And that's why it's so absolutely crucial. Because even in psychology currently, there's a debate about these theories not properly, you know, stating the fact that kids are much more developed than we think. Kids are able to comprehend much more than we think. And the fact that a 4 to 6 year old is questioning whether they're good or bad, every single punishment, every single reinforcement, if not explained, is you telling them that they're bad. Yeah. Because they don't know how to tell the difference until much later. Yeah. I mean, even into adulthood, some of us don't know whether we're truly good people or not. And if you don't explain to your kids, if you don't explain to even your younger self, you know, that you weren't bad, it was just your actions and it needed to happen. If you don't explain to your younger self that, it's just default bad.
Yeah, exactly. And then it obviously gets onto self-esteem issues and just goes on.
Mm-hmm. And guilt versus initiative. If too much guilt is felt, the person you'll be underdeveloped in terms of initiative. You won't take initiative. You'll find that once your teachers are just telling you a problem, or you're too loud in class, you're messy, you whatever. Let's say you have ADHD or ADD or any type of behavioral diagnosis. You find then that as you progress, you're much quieter.
Yeah.
Or I was loud still, but I never truly showed myself.
Yeah.
I had developed a identity that was quiet enough to still mask who I truly was and what I was actually feeling.
Yeah.
But that was all just another guilt process. Yeah. That was me as a kid knowing that and this is actually when I developed my dissociation disorder.
That's the common age actually isn't it before a certain age?
Yeah.
That's when it can really grow.
So this is when I developed my dissociation disorder, and I completely forgot all of the trauma I had experienced because it had nowhere to go. I couldn't rely on my parents at that time, and I couldn't rely on my teachers. I was being too disruptive, and obviously you can't depend on 4 or 5-year-old friends.
Yeah.
So my body literally
coping mechanism full time.
Yes.
Check out our first episode if you want to find out more about that.
Yes. Check out our first episode.
That's crazy, but that's so understandable. And like at that age. At that young age, you're not aware that that's what your body's doing. It's protecting itself, and it's creating an alter ego type of sense thing, or another identity that's like adaptable to the environment. It just establishes this thought in your mind that like you need to always be adaptable to the environment. You can't be yourself.
Yeah.
You need to be whoever the environment needs you to be.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
So
yeah. Anyway, stage 4. Here, it's from age 6 all the way through to puberty. And this is our last little stage here for this. Again, this is all about adolescence.
Yes.
We're going to get more into what's relevant to you now in your young adulthood in our next segment.
Yeah.
But this is just so you can map out, really try to think through these things, guys. Like, what can you remember through these stages? Try to think as far back as you can.
Yeah, because it really will affect your current.
Yes, yeah. And that's what we're trying to get to. So anyway, the last stage, age 6 to puberty again, is industry versus inferiority. And the question you ask yourself around these ages is, am I competent or am I worthless? And we become exceedingly dependent on public opinion at this point. Exceedingly dependent, because this is where we develop our inferiority complexes. Like, this is where and this is truly where we start understanding what society is, what the rules are, what the norms are. And we start looking at ourselves, at our bodies, at the way that we think, our ideologies. We start looking at our families. We start realizing we're poor or we're rich, or we're white or we're black. And you start really being challenged with the fact that you're either inferior or you could conform.
Yeah,
that's the question. Not that you are inferior, but that's the question you're going to grapple through these years. Is are you a valuable component of society?
Yeah, and that's what you question.
Mm-hmm.
That is...
How were your puberty years?
I think I was definitely more inferior. I definitely was like a quiet, I guess, person.
Mm-hmm.
Or that's what people depicted me as around this age. I remember like a lot of my report cards were... they would just say, Amira's quiet, and she doesn't talk much in class. And
that sounds actually like a lot of psychosocial crisis from stage 3.
Yeah.
Because obviously, maybe you had some guilt around those ages about you being good or bad that then made you quiet and not be to have... initiative.
Yeah, honestly, because I remember that those were like the common things in my report card. And I specifically remember I also moved to England around this time. So I live in South Africa, and I moved from South Africa to England around when I was 7. And I think this also was played like a huge role, because it's just a whole different society, just different vibes, you know? And it really did play a huge role in like me kind of, I don't know, I feel like I did move quite a bit when I was younger. So I think that just leaving all of my friends there, and like the fact that it took me a while to make a friend, I wasn't like, so it was really testing my how I could make friends. And I just, especially going to England, and then I had to join, I think it was like year 2 or whatever year I started there, and everyone was already like acquaintanced with each other, and I was like the new girl. I hated that. I remember being the new girl to so many different schools when I was younger, and I just did not like it. And I think it established like a form of just like, nothing's forever. Don't get too invested in this person or in this, because I remember every time I would leave somewhere, my friend, whoever I was close with, wherever, would be crying, and I just would not be able to. I was just like, and I'd literally be like, what is wrong with me? Like, it's not that I don't care about this person or anything, but like, what is wrong with me? Because I specifically remember I had this like BFF in England, and then when I moved back to South Africa from England, I was there for 3-4 years. So when I moved back, I obviously was friends with her for 3-4 years, and this was at like a prime age of like 7 to 10. And and when I was coming back, I got this whole like note thing from like my class in school, and they were like, everyone wrote a note for me in class, and that was just so shocking to me. I was just like, what? Like, you guys like care and stuff, like what? And then my best friend that was in England, she was just crying, and she was so sad, and she was
that you're leaving.
Yeah, she was really sad, and not just her, but other people were crying, and like, I've just never cried whenever I left. And I definitely think that's got to just do with me being like, just don't get too attached. Or it's not that I wasn't attached to her at all, though. Just, I guess I couldn't. I don't know what that was, but it was definitely something.
Whatever that was, it definitely. Well, you were in the same stage, but you guys should check out our second episode. We run through our 10 years of friendship, and this is the same stage as all that. So whatever that was, I think whatever that was that gave you that sort of disconnect. I think it was still there in your puberty years.
100%.
And then it just grew and grew because of the hormones and all the other things that just played a role. In that stage of, am I competent or am I worthless?
And also just coming back from Europe, from England, and like having the accent and like sticking out like a genuine sore thumb was just an overwhelming sensation for me.
Because I even remember, because obviously we met at the stage, and I remember you being, I remember that being something people spoke about. They were like, but you're a black girl, why are you speaking like
and
that accent?
I still don't understand any South African language. The best would be Afrikaans, and that's just not black. So, I definitely was pinned as the coconut for life. Just literally the coconut for life. And that definitely also played a thing for me. Are you listening?
Coconut. Oh, that's so funny. That's actually so funny.
Literally, it's so
that people think like, if you just deter from whatever you think in your little reality is what you're supposed to be as a black woman or black man or white woman or white man or whatever color you are, in your little world, you think that we should all have these little accents and we should all speak these languages, and you should all, like, the fact that people can just, anything that deters from what they think is real and true, it's an other. It's classified as other. you're coconut. You're not one of us. And I thought that's what we're trying to get away from, guys. I thought we're trying to get away from the titles and assuming because of someone's skin color that they know the same language as you, or that they can even connect with you and your culture. Like, although culture, I do feel like a lot of our culture has been lost as Africans, and I love the fact that I connect with my culture and I love, where my culture is prominent, but other kids don't. Other kids had to move. Other kids had to redefine their identity. And other cultures have been completely wiped away. Yeah. There's so many things that have happened throughout history, and for you to assume that every single human being should conform to your little idea of what is perfect is absolutely wrong and unfair, quite clearly, because wasn't the catalyst of us feeling that we need to reclaim our identity the fact that someone took it away from us. Literally. And so don't take away other people's identities. You don't know throughout these stages what they had to become to survive. And by you denying someone's reality, by you telling them that they're not black enough, or they're not white enough, or they're not smart enough, you're denying their experiences. Yeah. And you're calling them worthless.
Especially at this stage.
Yeah.
Am I competent or am I worthless? Yeah. That's just justifying it. And I think that exactly probably was for me. My self-confidence was just actually not there. It just wasn't existent.
I can tell you, stage 3, when I was grappling with this initiative versus guilt, you can ask anyone that went to primary school with me. Well, you were there. I was very confident. I was stupidly confident. Like, I was like, I don't know how to describe it. Like, I knew who I was. I walked, like, people just kept on, and the thing that people kept on saying to me as a kid, and I've spoken about this before, is that whole bossy thing. Because I, like, spoke, and because I stood up for myself, I was seen as bossy. And it's a thing that's common with women. Like, if a woman stands up for herself or she has opinions, she's bossy or she's a bitch, And I remember that really hurting me as a kid because I lost friends because of my bossiness. I remember having to eat in the bathroom because they all, just, like, they didn't want to be my friend anymore because another group, like, I remember the boys used to be like, oh, she's your guys' boss. She's the leader of the group. Just because I really cared about my friends, and I would, like, try to argue for them and, like, help them and protect them. And although warranted, I was a bitch. But I also was grappling with this stage. And so with people telling me that instead of someone teaching me that you can be a leader and you can have a voice whilst still being empathetic and giving other people room to also do the same, like, without people telling me that, I just reached the conclusion that my voice is too loud. I'm bad. And then moving on to the next stage, I completely lost that confidence. And throughout being a kid, actually, I was so sure of myself. Like, that's the thing that's always common throughout, even when I go back home to Port Elizabeth. People were always like, oh, look at you, you're so old. Like, the whole neighborhood, like, not even my neighborhood, like, the whole, like, every single place I had stayed, the neighborhood knew me because I was so forthright with who I was because of the autonomy. And then I lost that. And all because I was deemed worthless in that last adolescent stage. Yeah.
I just had a quick little...
Are you gonna be raw?
Yes, guys, I'm just gonna be a little quick raw session. Just had a panic attack. It wasn't a panic attack. It was light, But definitely, I don't know, I think maybe that conversation got to me. Ew.
Yeah.
Ew, is that emotion?
Ew.
But yeah, for real, it's like, I don't know, I was just getting very overwhelmed. I think because this is like, I guess we're unpacking ourselves. So we're really reflecting on who we are, and I'm realizing a lot of things, and it's just, I guess that's probably getting to me. But I'm all good. It was like a quick few seconds. It wasn't anything too big.
Yeah.
But yeah, so that is our second segment.
It is our second segment. And you did tell us just what's wrong, but just for the sake of this podcast and ending it off on a cute note every time. Girl. Oh, what's wrong?
What's wrong with me? I guess, yeah, I gave you a snippet a few seconds ago, but yeah, I think the whole thing though is that I've been very emotive lately, and like, I feel like I'm like, I don't know what to phrase it, but like, I feel like everything around me is like people not have to walk around on eggshells around me, but I'm very sensitive.
Yeah.
Like, I'm very sensitive, and like, it's so weird because normally it's just really not my thing. I mean, it is my thing. I've always been a sensitive person, but I guess just these things specifically, like, I know for a fact in the past that wouldn't affect me at all. And I think that's because I was so disconnected to myself. As I said, I was so disconnected to myself that like it really wasn't that deep. But I guess now that also I'm on an emotional journey of finding who I am, finding out my emotions. When I do this, I'm feeling this. When I do that, I'm feeling that, you know. Like, even what just happened right now with me getting anxious, I'm still feeling a little bit anxious now, but it's definitely so much better than what it could have been. It could have gotten pretty hectic. I mean, I'm not shy. I'm not shy. My body's definitely not shy with panic attacks or anxiety attacks or whatever, and they can go on. So
yeah.
So I definitely I mean, I think it's a good thing though. I'm pretty happy about it. The fact that I never really felt I was able to connect. You know, like if you're watching something and someone starts crying, it's like, why are you crying?
Yeah.
So now I'm that person crying, and it's like, I'm finally crying.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing.
You're achieving identity.
Yeah, I'm achieving identity.
Yeah.
And I'm exploring. I mean, I'm figuring out like, okay, I'm feeling a little anxious right now. Why is that?
Yeah.
I was able to pin it faster than I normally would. So that's definitely an achievement for me. And yeah, with you guys, I think you should also take emotions good. Emotions are good.
Mm-hmm.
They can be very good.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're emoting, if you're feeling a certain way, like, think about it. Why am I feeling this way, etc.? Because it can really just help you understand yourself. And at least I'm at that point where I understand myself somewhat. I'm starting to understand myself to, you know, to be able to diffuse anything before it gets too out of hand.
Yeah.
But yeah, girl, what's wrong?
What's wrong with me?
Yes.
I have really been identifying with this identity crisis thing.
Yes.
Because I'll be honest with you, and I think I'm gonna cry too. But I have just truly been feeling so much pressure in terms of finding who I am as soon as I can. You know, obviously we're all going through, well, I don't know how old you are, but assuming that you're around my age, we're all going through this time where we're just entering adulthood, or we're in mid-adulthood, or nearing where we're supposed to be stabilizing as adults, past 25 onto 30.
Yeah.
And we feel just like we're not where we're supposed to be. And I'm just really struggling with the fact that because I've come to the realization that, you know, after all these years, I think what has sort of anchored me as a child, especially with dealing with my trauma, was the fact that at some point you will reach a level where you'll feel like, like sure. And I thought it was my parents. Like I thought once I get old and I can move out and I can, study what I want to study and just get through, I can just leave the house, then I'll find who I am.
Yeah.
But yeah, it feels like to find yourself, you have to kind of lose the idea of yourself that you thought was going to be you as a kid, because you actually come to a point where you realize that's not realistic at all.
Yeah.
And I keep on talking about school. I did the first episode too, but I just feel so incredibly anxious every single time at school. And it just makes it worse for me that I'm doing well, because it feels like my reality inside my head is not quite in sync with what seems to be apparent to others. And so when I tell my parents I'm struggling with school, but they're seeing A's and bursaries, then it seems like I'm lying. And I've been questioning my reality a lot, because I'm asking myself, is this some sort of weird depression that I'm in? Because my depression is usually very heavy, but it's not heavy. It's just like I feel a little bit lost, and I feel like sometimes crying. I feel like sometimes no one really sees me. Like they see they're like, oh, but you're like,
there's all these achievements.
There's time, and you need to, take it one step at a time. You need to, after high school, go to university. After university, find a guy. After you find, a man, marry him, have kids. Like, there's all these things, and I just feel like I don't know where I want to get time to do them, because I feel like I just don't know where I want to be. And the thing is, now that I know there's no destination in terms of contentment, it's like, when I tell myself, oh, you just need to travel, you just need to leave South Africa.
You just need this, you just need that.
I know now that it's not going to change once I'm there. And now also that I know that I'm not going to find it in a person, because I thought for so long that I would find it in a person, and I did, think that. I really thought that once I'd found my person, that I could depend on them for everything. And I realized that you can't depend on people, and they will always let you down. It doesn't mean you need to stop loving or trusting them. It's just human condition. I'll also let you down many times. So I just feel kind of alone, but at the same time, it's that type of loneliness where you can't not be alone. You can't step inside of me and justify what I'm feeling, because it can't. It's impossible. So it's like a loneliness that's incurable. And
just realizing you only have yourself. You're the only person that understands you as well as anyone else can. That's also something that I have been coming to realize, that it's just you, babe. I mean, obviously I have Allah, so that's been something that's also really, really helped me. But so just realizing physically I just have myself has been terrifying. Because I don't even like me. Is that all? What else?
Kind of arts. I don't like this person.
Yeah, literally.
And I'm kind of been ignoring them.
No, literally. And I thought she'd go away, but she's still here.
Exactly.
But yeah, I feel like it's a common thing, especially around this age, for having a full-blown identity crisis. And
the thing is, it's not only this age, dude.
Yeah.
The thing is, it's not only this age. The thing is, identity crises happen at every single stage.
That's true.
At every single stage, I may become an adult and think that I've established my identity, then become a terrible mom, or get into a divorce. My husband cheats on me and that changes things. Or like, you know, there's not, the thing that I'm realizing that's depressing me is that there's not a state where you're not going through a crisis. Like, and people say, oh, my 40s, that's where I found myself. But then there's other issues when it comes to aging.
Yeah.
So it's like, it's like we're destined to suffer.
But then I feel like I realized that. But something that I've been trying to tell myself is that, yeah, we're destined to suffer. We're always going to suffer. So why am I focused so much on the suffering? Like, why can't I try to focus on the goods, you know?
Yeah.
And, like, that's what I've been trying to do. It's difficult, of course. Yeah. But, I mean, we always do suffer, but there is always the bright side to the situation, I feel.
Yeah.
Which sucks.
I don't want to say it, but yeah. There is always the bright. I mean, I'm happy. That's the thing. Yeah. I'm not, that's why I'm calling it a kind of depression. It's like, it's depressing and it is triggering my depression, but I am very happy. And there's not a day that I don't laugh and that I don't continue to live and whatever. I don't feel like I want to end my life. I am enjoying it.
It's bearable.
Yeah, it's definitely bearable. And yeah, and that's the that's kind of the message, you know, like identity is messy. There's not a point where you should feel confident in your identity. You should always be changing. Yeah.
Yeah.
That was a hectic one, guys.
That was a hectic episode. Make sure you guys go watch some Family Guy or whatever after this, because I know I will.
That was hectic.
Yeah.
That was hectic.
It was hectic for sure.
Yeah.
But it's always good to have one of those to actually be able to delve deeper to yourself.
Yeah. Do I look skinny?
Am I skinny for you?
Am I skinny for you? Am I skinny for you? I'm not skinny. Okay.
Okay.
Bye.